So this first section, integrated versus sequential product development. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to do a small exercise to show the theory behind the improvements that you can gain from doing things in an integrated fashion. So basically the exercise here is you have to use the numbers up there and use the functions just described below it to make the number 25. And you have to use as few of the numbers as possible. Go ahead, lad there.
4 multiplied by 6 plus 1.
Yep, that'll do. Another approach, 7 minus 2 times 5 is 25, so both using 3 numbers. So essentially that's the exercise. So in your handouts now, you should have some exercises. The first one, if you can all find it on the first page, or I'd like you to use the same numbers here with the same functions, and firstly to get as close as you can with as few numbers as possible to the number 24. Okay, once you've done that, I'd like you to just cross off the numbers that you've just used from the list. Then using the numbers that are remaining, so make sure you cross the ones off that you've just used, using the numbers remaining, try and make the number 12 in one. And finally, I'd like you to get you as close as you can to the number 4, using the remaining numbers. So the purpose of that first exercise is to show the kind of inefficiencies of sequential product development. And just thinking of this as a metaphor, you may say that the marketing department wants to hit a score or performance characteristics of 24. They write a specification, use certain numbers, and then pass over the brief to the stylists or the design department, who also have their own goal or target. And they use up a set of other resources and commit another set of constraints and pass it over to the manufacturers and say, this is exactly the product we want. And quite often, the product that they pass over can't be made, or it can be made but with some inefficiencies. So let's try the exercise again, moving on to the next page. But this time, I'd like you to tackle it in an integrated fashion. So this time, I'd like you to try get 24, 12, and 4 all at the same time, using these numbers only once, but as few numbers as possible. Okay, does anyone think they've got a good solution? Anyone like to go ahead?
I have 4 minus 1 in the mathematics.
Okay. Okay.
And then I have 6 plus 6. And then I have 4.
And how many numbers are you left over with there?
I'm left with 1, 7.
So you've actually hit all the targets and you still have a number left over. Has anyone done better than that? How many numbers do you have left over? None. Okay, well, this guy wins then because he's used as few numbers as possible. But hopefully this demonstrates to you the purpose of this exercise, which is to show if you do things in an integrated fashion, it can be far more efficient than doing things in sequence. So small sacrifices at each level can lead to a more efficient overall product.
The funny thing is this, everybody actually wants to do a good job. Now, if everybody wants to do a good job either as an individual or as a department, why is it that we have this cross-functional strife? There are 3 types of environment and there are 3 types of situation that give rise to cross-functional strife, although everyone wants to do a good job. Now, that's the funny thing. The first type of situations that give rise to cross-functional strife is conflicting priorities. In fact, it is not the absence of priorities that give rise to cross-functional strife. It is because of sometimes too many priorities and conflicting priorities. What one department deems as important may not be deemed as important to the other department. So there is a lack of an overall vision and a coherent direction to give meaning to the priorities of each individual or each department. Conflicting priorities is environment number 1. The second situation that gives rise to cross-functional strife is conflicting measurements. One person might be measured on profit, the other one could be heavily measured on quality, and while this guy is pushing for profit at the expense of quality, then you have the tension arising between these two parties, and what do you have? A lot of strife and inefficiencies due to conflicting measurements. The funny thing about measurements is that measurements drive behavior. So if we find that there are certain behaviors we do not like in the organization, many times we got to take a step back and ask ourselves this question: how are we measuring the individuals or the department in the first place? Because these two have a very direct correlation, measurements and behavior. The third situation is something a little bit closer home. It has to do with conflicting leadership. Let me explain. Whatever that happens as a cross-functional strife at the departmental level, basically, at times it is a mirror of what is going on at a higher level. Because if there is no sense of unity or coherency in the top leadership, if even in the leadership itself, the vision is not united, even at the leadership level, if you get mixed messages, then what happens is that the conflict that is up there get translated to the organizational downwards. So what's happening at the organization, at the functional level, many times is a mirror of the conflict that is happening at the leadership level. If there are mixed messages up here, there will be mixed messages down here as well.